Africa is rising and you need to have a stake in its opportunities. It involves you knowing what business to invest in and, more importantly, how you do it. Join me on Doing Business in Ghana and let's talk some business. My name is Yaw Korankye Antwi. Let's talk later. Hello and welcome to Doing Business in Ghana. My name is Yaw Korankye Antwi. Now this program is meant to talk about what it takes for you to do business in Ghana. And so we look at the potentials, the opportunities, and what to look out for if you intend to set up or are currently running a business in Ghana. Now we start today by looking at how the world sees the country Ghana as far as doing business is concerned. And so I draw from our own research, our local observation, interviews, publications from local as well as international sources. And that is what is informing what we are doing today. Ghana is a West African country south of Sahara that has been of huge interest to the international business community in terms of the opportunities available for one to do business. At the large, medium, and the small sectors, population runs to about 26 million, with about 70% of businesses in the informal sector that are largely small and medium enterprises, which we largely call the SMEs. Now, as a developing country, Ghana throws out a lot of business opportunities coming out from what is required to grow and develop the economy. And that is it with many developing countries, that what is needed to grow the economy is what remains a business opportunity. So for example, if we need infrastructure to grow the economy, out of the infrastructure comes our business opportunity. Now, over the past 10 years or so, we've seen a number of multinationals who have settled in Ghana and are still coming in. This is contrary to, say, 20 years ago, where we didn't have as many multinationals, coming to settle as we have now, because we seem to have a lot more opportunities springing up. Again, 20 years ago, the business world gave Ghana and even Africa no chance at all. Now, I just want to share some publications with you made by The Economist magazine through the year 2000 to 2013, that is over a 13-year period. Now, The Economist in the year 2000 declared Africa hopeless. And 11 years down the line, the same Economist reviewed the assessment to Risen. And just 2 years after, March 2013, they called Africa aspiring. Now, I think this ranking or rating or whatever should actually even be much better than aspiring, because when you sit here in Ghana, you see a profuse influx of foreign businesses just coming to settle and take advantage of these opportunities. Again, I'm glad to share this statistic that in 2011, consulting group called the Boston Consulting Group, very well known as the BCG, in a survey asked 10 investment managers from around the world if they would invest in Africa in the next 5 years. And out of them, only one said they would do so. Come 2013, just 2 years after, and the same question was posed to 10 investment managers again, and amazingly, 8 of them said they would invest in Africa in the next 5 years. So you see, the dynamics have changed and are still changing, and that should mean a lot to you who wants to set up or want to do business in Ghana. Now, the question is, what has contributed to the continuously improving assessment of the international business community to see Africa, and for that matter Ghana, as a place to do business? Now, research has shown that Africa's population is rising fast, and by 2030, 60% of Africa's population will be a working population, and by 2040, have a larger working group than in India and China. And this is a publication by the Boston Consulting Group again, on their publication Winning in Africa. You can always look out for it and check it. And then you know that there's a lot of power in population, and that alone provides a lot of market opportunities for businesses. And that is why Nigeria remains a very attractive business destination, because they have numbers. And so, we see a lot of companies go there as well. There is also a very good growth of the African middle class consumer that provides a great market for businesses. Now, we could cite the current penetration of technology as a sign that the Ghana business field is rife. Now, mobile phone technology is something that has also moved at a cracking speed and has offered some grounds for one to do good business here. We're looking at the mobile phone penetration moving at a cracking speed and now stands at 113% penetration which means that virtually everyone in Ghana owns a mobile phone and sometimes more than one. Now, internet speed in Ghana is known to be the fastest in Africa, with 4G services introduced in Ghana in 2014. And so internet penetration jumped from 5% in 2011 to over 30% in 2014. Mobile money payment services are now the craze of the day, and payment for goods and services can only get better, easier, and more secured because you see this technology improving by the day. Additionally, talk about the fact that Ghana is stable, Ghana is a peaceful place and stable and all that, and we've gone through our own democracy over the years, and so it offers a very stable environment for one to do business. Additionally, we can talk about the proliferation of international brands that have swarmed into Ghana over this past 5 years. These mainly consist of telecoms, retailers, financial services, real estate, online businesses, and a lot more. In 2014 alone, 2 global-class shopping malls sprang up in Accra alone, being the West Hills Mall and the Junction Mall. And more are springing up all over the place. Now, the retail sector is booming, all to be fed by the growing middle class. I tell you, I won't be surprised to see the likes of Tesco's, Sainsbury's, and all those jump into Ghana in the next 2 to 5 years. Now, international insurance brands like Prudential, Allianz, Old Mutual have all pitched camp in Ghana. And I'm not even talking about the oil yet, because in one of our episodes, we're actually going to take time to explore what the oil industry holds in Ghana and see what you could do either in the mainstream oil industry or as an ancillary business. Currently, I must admit that the leadership of the country has received some bashing from both within and without in the last 1 or 2 years for the mismanagement of the economy, the huge debt burden, and of course the corruption and all that. But that notwithstanding, the opportunities still do abound for doing business. I had the opportunity to speak to Mrs. Mawina Trevor, the CEO of Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, which is like the gateway for investments flowing into Ghana. And she articulated what opportunities you could consider to invest doing business in Ghana at the large, the medium, and the small scale.
Well, it's really quite exciting. Investment promotion is really taking a look at where we want to be as a country 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And taking that look in the context of what is interesting for the business community. Whether you are in country or outside the country, there are certain sectors that are going to be very important for us from a development standpoint. So obviously the energy sector would be number 1, top priority. What has happened in that space is that clearly demand has outstripped supply. That's a function of having grown so incrementally and not having had the opportunity to anticipate that level of growth and make sure that we have enough power to support all of that economic activity. So there's a lot of opportunity to invest in the power space, and that is why the government then has had to create a framework for independent power producers to come in. So that is one major sector of interest. Probably one of the second big ticket opportunities is in the infrastructure realm in general terms. As you know, for any country to be successful in growing its economy, it must have infrastructure, good roads, good ports, good airport facilities, good harbors, all manner of really solid infrastructure that make it easy for people to execute on their businesses efficiently. And so the infrastructure sector is going to remain very, very important for the medium to long term, and we will continue to drive investments there. Perhaps one of the more exciting areas that I'm very particularly fond of talking about is agriculture and agro-processing. As you know, more than 60% of our population are agrarian farmers, and they come from small shareholder farming communities. What we're looking to do is to create the framework in which investors can look to more large-scale commercial mechanized farming, create more efficiencies so that we can add value to the crops and the produce that we are able to sustain from our lands. We want to be able to make sure that it's no longer just agriculture, but it's also agro-processing. And so in our investment promotion, we try to tie the two together and demonstrate that there's the opportunity to invest in production, but also processing as well. And that then helps to address some of the economic challenges we've had, being a country that has been importing so much. If we're producing more in country, then we can export. So we showcase agriculture and agro-processing a lot. Perhaps two others that I will quickly mention: the tourism sector, hospitality. You know, Ghana, in spite of some of the more recent economic challenges we've had, continues to be an oasis of peace and political stability within West Africa. And what that means is that we're seeing larger numbers of people coming through our ports, coming through our airport facilities, and the infrastructure really has to expand. The tourism and hospitality infrastructure really has to respond to those increased numbers. I mean, if you look at, for instance, our international airport, it was built to accommodate just slightly over 500,000 people per annum. We're doing well in excess of 1 million people per annum. And so you see that there's a very important need to expand, not just on that infrastructure side, but on the hotels, on the entertainment facilities that would support all of this interest in coming through the country. So it's been quite interesting to see how important these sectors have become in terms of investment. But those are some of the priority areas that we're focusing on. Of course, I would be very remiss if I didn't mention oil and gas, because it's a new kid on the block. It's literally one of the new entrants, if you will, in terms of investment. I think that what Ghana has going for it as a country on this particular score, where oil and gas is concerned, is we have the benefit of having learned from the experiences that other countries in the sub-region and continentally have had with oil and gas. So we know what not to do and how to set up the right systems and structures so that there's more transparency with the business community seeking to invest.
So in addition to the areas of opportunity already mentioned, we see the GIPC from where they sit, that is from the policy point of view, inform us about a number of opportunities in Ghana you could invest in. There are many other business opportunities as well, again, from the fact that we are a developing country, and these are what we need to grow and develop the economy. And so we look at areas like media, technology, education, financial services, among others. Now, still with Mawina, we further looked at what help or services you could receive from the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, once you set foot to do business in Ghana.
Well, we really rebranded ourselves as a prosperity partner. And what we really mean by that is that we certainly want the investor to be profitable. We want them to be successful in their undertaking to invest. But we also want the investment to translate into development. We want to make sure that that investment supports effort to create more jobs, to develop more skill sets in the country, and really help to grow the economy. And so what we've tried to do is to structure ourselves to serve the business community. What that means is that at every point of the decision-making process, in considering information that's required in order to make an investing decision, GIPC should be there to support you. If it is looking at the different sectors and what is involved in investing in those sectors, we should be there to support you. If it is engaging with potential business partners from in the country who are credible, we've developed a database to provide that. And really looking at 360-degree service provision so that at every stage of the process, the investor knows that there is a credible institution that can support them if they want to understand the legal and regulatory framework. We have a very strong research team, we have a very strong legal team to support investors to answer those questions they need to have answered. Even if it's wanting to meet with particular stakeholders, we're also in a position to help to arrange meetings. So there are quite a broad suite of services that we offer to the business community. And it is that customer service focus that we're really looking to draw right quality investments for the country.
I also had the opportunity to speak to a renowned economist, Dr. Erika Saisibe of the University of Ghana Business School, on what you should know about the economy as you intend to come in to do business.
First and foremost, whatever is happening in the macroeconomic environment has an implication on business in the country. And so it's for a potential business person or entrepreneur, you need to first understand whatever that is happening so that you can prepare yourself very well to face it. Of course, it's not unsurmountable. It's not something that you cannot overcome. Businesses are still there that are making it. But those are the businesses that actually understand the issues and place themselves in a way that they'll be resilient to whatever difficulties that they are going through. So if you look at the macroeconomic environment today, it has gone through a lot of challenges. That started from 2012, basically. After the 2012 elections, you realize that the country recorded what we call the double-digit, the twin deficit. And the twin deficit, the first deficit is the budget deficit or the fiscal deficit, where the government overruns its expenditure to over about 12% of our GDP. And so that actually kickstarted this whole difficulties that we are going through from where I sit, because the moment the government overspend that huge amount of money, it means government has put so much money into the economy. And when that happens, first of all, you realize that the prices begin to go up, that is, inflation begin to rise. And as your inflation rises, it weakens your currency. So the first implication that you have is that your cedi weakens against the major foreign currencies. So that was the beginning when we saw the cedi started depreciating. We also saw that inflation rate moving away from the single-digit inflation that has been recorded for over 2 years running. We started moving away to 10, 12, and thereabout. And so that is the first thing that happened to the economy. The second thing is that once that happened, government overspends like that, then it means that government has to borrow either domestically or externally to finance the deficit. Because the deficit means that your revenue is more than your expenditures.
Okay.
And so you have to find means of financing the difference. And that means that you either borrow domestically, as I mentioned, or externally. And so when you're borrowing domestically, you need to go to the domestic market, either borrow from banks or from the central bank, right? And when the government starts borrowing domestically like this, the effect is that it begins to push domestic interest rates up. So the domestic interest rate, because the funds that were supposed to go to the private sector then comes to government. And so the private sector is deprived of necessary financing to invest in its business. So there's some kind of credit crunch here. So credit becomes scarce for the private sector. So by so doing, it pushes the interest rates up. Okay. Right. So at that time, from 2012, the interest rate started rising. And so it rose to about 25, 27, 20, 29% per annum. The treasury bill rate also rose. Now it is about 25 point something percent. So the effect of deficit is huge. One, it causes inflation, it causes your cedi to weaken, and then it then causes your domestic interest rate to rise. But what does all that mean for businesses, as you mentioned earlier? It means quite a lot, because for business person, you are in an economy, and as you have to borrow, you have to buy goods and services, you need to import. So if the cedi is depreciating and you mobilize domestic money, you sell in domestic goods and services, then you always need more money, more cedis to get a given dollar or pound before you can import whatever that so it affects the amount or your capital. It erodes your capital, so to speak. And also, it sometimes can also impact on your business if you have to borrow from banks to expand, because the interest rate will be high, and so compared to outside, it's quite high, and that will increase your cost of doing business. Now, what compounded the whole situation was even the energy disruptions, when the electricity, what has come to be known as doomsday, you know, and it's affected, or it's keeps now, it's a little better, but it affected so many businesses, because you need to then look for alternative means of generating power, maybe going for, which can be costly, because the fuel costs, the generators and others, you know, are costly. So then it also increases your operational costs. But you can still go around the problem if you position yourself well, and you know which areas of the economy that you want to invest in. You know, in a crisis moment like this, you must be able to identify which sectors, you know, work and which sectors will not work. When you know that, you will be able to survive and you could still make money. Now, one of the things that many people do not know, of course, we say that interest rate in Ghana is high, but we also know, looking at the returns on investment in the country. The returns on investment in Ghana is high.
Okay, as well.
As well. Unlike UK and other developed countries where returns on investment is about 5%, here you can make
even lower.
Even lower. Here returns on investment is about 50 to 60, sometimes 100% on your investments, right? So although the interest rate is high, but if you are able to hit it and target certain sectors, you can make enough money to pay for whatever costs or whatever money that you are borrowing. So that is there. The other things too is which areas of the economy has the potential for
business. Well, before you get on,
right,
in terms of the higher interest rate we have and the higher returns that go with it, is this something that you could relate directly to higher risk, higher return? And in that case, would you say that Ghana is a risky place to invest?
Well, certainly the risk of doing business in Ghana is high.
Okay.
Because you are looking at the business environment. You are looking at the level of infrastructure that is in the country. You are looking at the cost of borrowing, you know, and all that. You are looking at the stability of the city. All of that doesn't look too good. And so the systemic risk is high. Okay. And therefore, for any businessman to be convinced that regardless of the risk, it still wants to come, then the returns must also be high to compensate for whatever risk that it is. So it is not too surprising, of course, that the returns to is high. Otherwise, it could have been disastrous for the country. So even though our risk profile is high, the systemic risk is high, we still attracting some significant investment into this country every day. You know, you just met somebody live in my office, and he is coming with a U.S. delegation that seeking to invest in the country, despite all the negative announcement and all that, because they've been able, they have looked beyond the problems now, and they are focusing on what is it that we can do, you know, to take advantage of these difficult conditions. You know, so sometimes crisis presents its own advantages and opportunities for businesses. So it is up to the business person to look at the sectors which can withstand or which can take advantage of the challenges, you know, or which can position itself to even provide solution to the challenges. Okay. That's right. Yeah. So the risk is there, but there's also good opportunities that businesses can still tap in.
Doctor, is this a good time to set up a business in Ghana? Is it?
Well, I will say yes and no. First, no, because you need to really understand the business environment so you don't make a mistake. For example, if you're going to set up a business where you have to depend so much on imported raw materials, then I'll tell you no, it's not good. You know, but if you're going to set up a business that will depend on raw materials that is produced in Ghana, then I'll tell you fine, because then the exchange rate, whether it depreciate or appreciate, whether it have
go with the flow when you're on there anyway.
Yeah, it will not have much impact on you. There's a study that we did, and we wanted to find out the impact of the cedi fluctuation on manufacturing sector. And we found out that for manufacturers or companies that import more, most of their content are imported, were hardly hit by the cedi fluctuations. But for those that get their raw material
it's from
here, actually make significant gains.
That's right.
Okay, so you need to come up with businesses that can tap into the local raw materials. Okay, if you're going to, for example, set up fruit processing factory, then you should be able to find a way of getting supply from the local market. Okay, getting supply from the local market. For example, orange farm, or pineapple and others, and that is what you are using in your production process. For that kind of business, you will definitely make it. Okay, so it depends on what type of businesses that you want to come and set up. If you're going to set up using local content, indigenous raw materials, then you will definitely be insulated from such a crisis. But of course, the issues about energy is a big issue.
It's a big issue, yeah.
Okay, because energy is a significant production cost in the production process. And therefore, if there's erratic energy situation, then of course it's going to affect you. But of course, these days, there are alternatives. The solar panels and others have come, which is getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. So when you're planning to set up businesses, that's also one thing that you should also consider, that you can get your own solar panel and set it up, and so you don't 100% depend on the national grid.
That's right.
So that's a lower cost or a better way of going around it. You can also schedule, of course, if the doomso or the time schedule, you can look at the time schedule and schedule your production to suit that kind of certain trend. So if the light only comes in the evening and you produce, then why not in the daytime you close, in the evening you open to do your production? Okay, so you're taking advantage of the situation and make sure that you are not too much affected. So some businesses are cashing in, those that are able to smartly place themselves, are actually cashing in on the economic conditions, difficulties that we're going through.
Thank you very much. In terms of opportunities that could be available, I think that we've mentioned a few things, giving sort of a general impression about some areas which people can look at. And it's quite interesting. I mean, there was an article I read about, what happens in downtimes. And the person likened it to musical chairs, that when the music stops, that is when everybody goes to grab a chair. What does that mean? So if it looks as if the tunes are bad, that is when people come in to grab the opportunities. We're looking at stuff like energy, which we've seen, and the infrastructural, as it were, lapses that we have. How strong do these come with opportunities for people to invest in, either small or the medium or the large, in the large scale, kind of business?
Well, it comes with enormous opportunity, and for me, my pain is that you realize that Ghanaians are actually not taking advantage of these opportunities, and we are rather sitting back to allow foreigners or expatriates to come in and take advantage of such. The energy situation, even with this panel, assembling solar panels, okay, assembling lamps, battery lamps, in the country. Now it's huge business.
Yeah.
Okay, assembling these lamps or solar lamps and the
power badges.
Power badges.
Yes.
It's big business. Why do we have to import this from China? When there's huge market. You take this thing to Nigeria, it's huge. To Abidjan, it's huge. Okay, you can, and it doesn't require much. These are light manufacturing stuff that you can always
easily pull resources
together and set up to meet that demand. Okay, because there's huge demand for that. All right. Now, for any maturing economy or for any economy, Ghana is now a maturing economy, despite the challenges. The middle class keeps expanding. And when the middle class of economy expands, there are certain demands, that go with it. Okay. Internal decors, because everybody's trying to build. So there's huge demand for that, the building materials. There's huge demand for that. Even what we eat, now people prefer to eat pure juice.
That's right. We become
100%
more health conscious.
More health conscious. So you go to programs and what people are looking for is 100% juice.
That's right.
So you can come and take advantage of that and produce to meet that kind of demand. Flowers, garden. And these are things that the middle class needs.
There was, not to cut you in, but there was recently there was a garden, a flower show,
right,
somewhere that I spotted, and I was amazed to see the turnout.
Yeah.
People in Ghana,
yeah,
that were attending a flower show. I'm not sure that was something that would have happened like 10 years ago.
No. I mean,
but now, if you stage a flower show, a flower conference, or some flower exhibition, now you see the people and the crowd that actually come around. For me, I think it tells.
And
tells us.
And that is normal for a maturing economy. If you look at the trajectories of developed countries, that is how it has been. At a certain stage in development, the taste and preferences of the people change. Okay, so you need to, as a business person, you need to be able to position yourself in order to meet that demand at that stage. That is when you are able to take advantage. That is why we talk about businesses being versatile.
That's right.
You need to be versatile, always gauging or proactively gauging the changing taste and preferences of the people, of your target or of your audience. So businesses or potential businesses should come down, study the market, and then come out with something. Because the demand, one of the challenges of this economy is that we over-depend on imported products. So what is it that we import every now and then?
Everything.
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 So there's market for those things.
That's right.
So if we can get a good manufacturer, who can set up similar businesses, now even tablets, okay? If you have an assembly plant that put together this tablet for students, because every student wants to hold a tablet.
Now. I mean, not every student, every primary school person
have to want to have a tablet. So there's huge market, huge opportunity for that. There's this what we call the non-traditional exports. Yeah. Okay, that government, now we have a non-traditional export policy. There's a very active policy in place that is supporting the non-traditional sector. So whatever that you do and you target export, there's some kind of support for you. People are going into pineapple production, semi-processed pineapples. People are going to mangoes, oranges, and even medicinal plants. Now it's huge out there. Yeah. Medicinal plants. It's in India, it's clocking over 40 billion, or so dollars for India. In China, it's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, and Ghana, it has started growing because the demand for
the dandelions, the sunflowers,
and all that. Medicinal plants. So you can target these things and you export, and you make good money.
It looks like all I'm telling you is the juicy part of opportunities that avail in Ghana. Yeah, that's true, but I should, however, say that doing business in Ghana is not without challenges. And that is true anyway with business, and that is anywhere you choose to do business, nothing good comes easy. Now, as it stands, power is a major issue in Ghana, and I'm sure you may already be aware of it. Now, the cost of power in doing business is quite challenging, and there are a lot of figures to prove that. But you know what? We've seen businesses showing a lot of resilience and planning and cutting costs here and there just to be able to survive, and are actually doing better, showing great productivity and showing great profitability. That alone should not deter you from coming in to take advantage of the opportunities that avail here. Now, just also get to know that Ghana is quite a demanding place to do business. Of course, every system has its own demands, but it also remains highly rewarding with returns that can blow your mind. Now, Ghana and Africa as a whole is the last sizable area of untapped growth in the global economy, and you should as well have a stake in it, especially if you're an African, and more so if you're a Ghanaian. We are here to alert you of factors you need to look out for if you want to set up in Ghana. Just end today knowing that there are a lot of investment opportunities around here, Again, the fact that we are still developing, and whatever you do would help develop and grow this country. There are a lot of incentives as well, and it remains a place which you can just put your money in and get very good returns from if you're putting the right structures in place. And that is what doing business in Ghana is all about. So hey, just come in, take that risk, and grab your share of all that is going on. I want to thank you for watching this edition of Doing Business in Ghana. Now, this is produced by www.ghanatalksbusiness.com, and I hope you enjoyed watching. You can also find this video on ghanatalksbusiness.com or on the YouTube. And so till we meet again, keep doing business and stay blessed.